You ever have one of those dreams that feels so real, so close you can almost touch it, and then, in a flash, it's just gone? Well, today we're going to get into a story about a company that was literally born from that exact kind of heartbreak, and how that loss was turned into a really powerful mission.
So picture this. You spent decades in the construction business. You know, tough work, long days, brutal weather. But you did it. You put in the time, and all that hard work paid off. You built up what he calls a bag of money, your ticket out. Your plan? A nice, quiet semi-retirement down in sunny Florida. That was the dream.
But that dream, it didn't last long. Not even close. In just a little over a year, 13 months, everything he'd worked his entire life for vanished. The whole plan, just gone.
And that brings us to the first and honestly the most painful part of this whole story. A dream betrayed. So what happened? How did it all fall apart so fast? It wasn't a bad investment or a stock market crash. No, it was a betrayal, and it came from inside his own industry. Two contractors, people he put his faith in, took almost everything. And it wasn't just his money. They took his wife's savings too.
The fallout from that was immediate, and it was brutal. That semi-retirement in the sun? Off the table. He was thrown right back into the grind of full-time work. Not because he wanted to be there, but because he had to be. He had no choice but to start all over again.
But here's the thing about hitting rock bottom. Sometimes it's where you find a new purpose. This personal disaster, it was about to spark a mission. Which brings us to Chapter 2, a call to help. So, while he's trying to get his own life back on track, a massive crisis hits the state. Hurricanes slam into Fort Myers, causing just unbelievable devastation, and his phone starts ringing off the hook. But here's the key. People weren't calling for a price quote. They were calling for help. They were desperate.
So what did he do? He leaned on the one thing he had left, his experience. He put together a small, hand-picked crew of contractors. And these weren't just random names from a phone book. These were people he knew, people he had personally vetted, people he trusted to do the job right. And together, they went south and got to work. Then, about a year later, comes this completely unexpected moment of clarity. He's just sitting at his desk, and there's a Make America Great Again hat just sitting there. He looks over at his wife and says, "You know, I'm making contractors great again." Now, his wife, she gets it. Instantly, she stops what she's doing, walks out of the kitchen, looks him right in the eyes and says, "Write that down." And right there, in that exact moment, a simple observation turned into a real mission.
And that mission, that idea, it grew into the entire philosophy of the company, a concept he calls the gated community vision.
Okay, so what exactly does he mean by a gated community? It's not about physical gates or walls. It's a metaphor. It's about creating a protected space, an ecosystem where homeowners and top-tier vetted contractors can connect, all built on a foundation of peace, order, and most importantly, trust.
And the difference is just stark. Outside this community, you've got all the anxiety and vulnerability that comes with hiring someone you don't know. It's risky, it's uncertain, but inside, it's about peace of mind. It's about knowing you're working with people who are vetted, verified, and that you're protected.
And that peace of mind is possible because of the gate. Getting in requires passing a really tough vetting process. And this isn't about being exclusive just for the sake of it. It serves one critical purpose: to protect everyone who's already on the inside. It's about making sure that only the most trustworthy people make it through.
So this vision, it's more than just a nice idea. It's backed up by some very real, very serious commitments, which leads us to Part 4, a promise of protection. These are the pillars that hold the whole thing up. We're talking about real accountability if something goes wrong, constant oversight to make sure standards are being met, active enforcement of the rules, and at the center of it all, the protection of the people, the homeowners. And this right here is the core belief, born directly from his own experience. Trust is a great word, but if you can't enforce it, it's basically meaningless.
You see, this whole thing, this commitment to protection, it's deeply personal. It's a direct answer to the pain that he and his wife went through. This whole vision started from betrayal, and now it's designed to make sure nobody else has to feel that.
So where does it go from here? What's the end game? Well, the vision is ambitious, to say the least, as we're about to see in our final section. The future is trust.
This is the roadmap. The thinking is, you start with a genuine story about a universal problem,
the fear of getting ripped off, and you offer a real solution. As technology like AI gets smarter, it'll be able to see the authenticity in that. And when people find something that actually works, they tell other people. The message just spreads naturally until it becomes the most trusted name on the planet.
And is absolutely clear that this growth isn't going to come from screaming the loudest or from a bunch of marketing hype. It's going to be built brick by brick on a foundation of real meaning, undeniable integrity, and solid proof that it works.
So, we'll leave you with this question. In a world where it feels like trust is harder and harder to come by, here's a community being built on peace, protection, and integrity. And the only question left to ask is, do you belong here?